everyone. Welcome to today's session on the first week of our live online learning 2022. For those who are joining us for the first time, hang in there. Everything will come together as time goes on. And for those who are joining us from last year, let your experience be an inspiration to the ones who are coming now. Before wasting any time, I'll ask Caspar to open the house room.
Thank you so much, Tamila. No, Kavita, sorry. Welcome everybody to today's session. We only have a few small house rules for today. We would like to ask everyone to please mute your cameras to save data and bandwidth. We'd also like to ask everyone to please just mute your microphones to keep all the background noise to a minimum. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to raise your hand, or you can put it into the chat area. Then that's all from my side. Over to you, Dr. Goos.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, team. Yes, so we're doing programming today. Indeed, we've got it looks like quite a good class. So again, I will do the presentation and then we will open it for discussions. And we'd love to hear your questions. If you want to post it in the chat, Tumelo and Cabello and Nadine are also there and watching. So today, indeed, we're doing programming. Yesterday, we did the building, and today we're going to do some programming. Take notes as you go along, as you go through this work. I'm just going to share my screen. I probably don't need to tell you that every time, but anyway. All right. And we're going to share. Right. I'm just going to make sure that everybody can see my session. Here we go.
It's going through. Yes, we can see it.
Excellent. So once again, welcome to the team. We do everything in teamwork, which makes it work. And we're going to do some basics in programming. And so you are most welcome. So these are just the navigation, our navigation information where we are. This is live online learning. The COVID kept us away from traveling, but we have got recordings. We've got MOOC queries. We've got general queries. We've got basic content, and Tumelo at the end will explain how we get onto the MOOC portal. So I'm going to skip over Tumelo's session, and I'm just going to say today we're doing programming and how to make the robots move. All right. So this is session 2 of 4. So imagine by tomorrow you'll be past halfway. So that's really amazing. And I hear a lot of noise at the side there. So I'm glad to hear everybody's still coming in. But we really want to equip robotics coaches. And what we present here is just really the tip of the iceberg. As Cabello said, let it be an inspiration. Ask the questions that you need to ask, and the recordings are available. They will be uploaded at the end of the week. You can access that as often as possible. There is an unmuted mic somewhere. Okay, so when we speak of robotics is that multidisciplinary field where you have both got engineering on the one hand and programming on the other, and kind of in between that happens these 21st century skills. Okay, for this training, we are using the robotics kit. We're using the EV3 Robotics Kit and the Spike Prime Robotics Kit. So tomorrow we'll definitely go more practical. I'll set up the whole table here, and then we can do some practical robot building and robot programming, and you'll see what happens. But for those who don't have robotics kits, there are virtual options, and we've just looked through the virtual digital designer, virtual robotics toolkit, and the Lego digital designer. Those are also options. Okay, but you need to start somewhere with some type of robot. So we're going to do the wheeled robot. This is the robotics kits that we use. You can see out of a single kit, there are multiple options. Just for my history, I started with that brain. That's an NXT brain. I've moved on to the EV3 brain, and now I've got to upgrade to the Spike Prime brain. But you know what? It's all part of this learning. So out of a single kit, you can build all the robots, and there's a plethora of designs. What I stressed yesterday was that we'd use building instructions to create that basis or the frame of reference that your learners will need. And I will show you some of the robots I have here. what you need to encourage your learners to do is to discover and explore different ways of building robots, okay, and adding to it and modifying it. So this is the ever colorful Spike Prime robot. This is also built of components and pieces. It feels like the more colorful, the better, but you can see we've got the gears, we've got the links, we've got the axles, we've got the wheels, a good, sturdy, robust design. Okay, so as we go into programming languages, we kind of in a state of transition, and that is not bad, and I'll explain as we go along. So if you have the EV3 Robotics Kit, please keep them. I've got NXTs that I'm still using as well. But the EV3 Robotics Kit, there's a language called EV3 Lab, and the EV3 Lab version looks like this. It's drag and drop, and you drag it from the bottom, you drag it up to here, and then you have a program, and then on these controls over here, you download it. There's nothing wrong with the EV3. All right. However, you can also use your EV3 robot with a programming language called EV3 Classroom. And for those who know something about Spike, Scratch, this looks more like Scratch programming. And I think it's just as colorful as the Spike Prime robot. But anyway, so now you've got the option. If you download EV3 Classroom, you can do some Spike programming in Scratch. Okay, so you've got the EV3, just the normal EV3 Robotics Kit. You can still build your robots. You just program it with EV3 Classroom, okay, which looks like Scratch. All right, and then if you do have a Spike Prime kit, then you will use the Spike Prime programming language, which is then also Scratch. It looks like Scratch. Okay, so those are the three languages. I'm going to introduce programming principles today, and I'm going to be using the EV3 Lab version, just so that you kind of get the understanding of how to program robots. And then hopefully, if time allows, tomorrow I will show us how to program the Spike Prime robots. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing now quickly. I'm going to ask the rest of my team to check whether there are any questions, but I'm just going to start the next presentation. Doesn't look like it. All right, so let's get started on some programming. I will show you an example of how do we do programming. I do have the software available, and I'm just going to start there we go. I will give you a demonstration of it, but let's just first go through the presentation. All right, so we really have a whole lot of languages that we're going to talk to the robot or make the robot. And I think that the best way to start teaching programming is to say we're going to make the robot do something. Okay, it doesn't matter what language you choose, but we have to make the robot do something. All right, if you look at Unit 2 on the MOOC portal, these are some of the issues that we need to grapple with. Name some problems that could occur if the robot does not function correctly. And that is when you start debugging programming. That we will get to eventually in MOOC number 3. There's a whole session on that. All right, the wheeled robot can either move forward or it can move backward. All right, and if it can turn a corner, to make it turn a corner, you would basically make one wheel stop and the other wheel turn, and I'll demonstrate that to you now. All right, and then a question I'm going to leave, but then you can see whether you can answer it. Why does a robot that is programmed to move forward for a specified number of rotations go further with bigger wheels than with smaller wheels? All right, so let's keep that question in the back of your mind, so we're busy with programming. And then what you have to do, you have to actually, there's a microphone muted. Can you just mute your microphone, please? Thank you very much. The programming objectives in Unit 2, you have to actually do the activity. So linked to every objective is an activity. So there you can see, to move the robot forward a distance, you actually need to write the code to move the robot forward. All right, so this one would be to move the robot at 50% power, 3 rotations forward. All right, this is the EV3 Classroom version of it, and that is the EV3 no, this is the lab version. This one is the lab version. This one is the Classroom version. This is Spike Prime. It doesn't really matter. Okay, but you have to actually do the activities. Every single one of the programming activities you need to complete. And that's why there's objectives, and that's why there are activities. You do need to test it out. It's about doing, it's practical. And so for tomorrow, I'm going to set up the practical table, and we're going to see robots moving here. All right. In terms of your software, and I'm going to demonstrate this now, part of your canvas, your programming canvas, there are a whole lot of teaching tools. There's a teacher support, there's a robot educator, there are some tutorials that you can use. So please investigate your environment, okay? When we do EV3, we do a project and lots of programs. When we do Spike Prime, so that would be our canvas, and onto this we're going to write our computer programs. I'm going to show you that now. All right. Just as a convention, if you have a wheeled robot, the wheels are always in front. There has to be traction. Traction is a technology concept, but your robot must move forward with the wheels in the front. Okay, and just for easy debugging of your learners' programs, the port B is on the left-hand side and port C is on the right-hand side connections. You can see there the wires that connect the brain to the port. Okay. All right. So if B and C rotate forward, that's a positive movement. If it comes backwards, I'm going to show you now, it must be a negative movement. Okay, so B and C, so let's read this code here. We reset all our motors. We reset motors because they are meshed and we don't want to accumulate error. And you'll see as we go along, that'll be quite obvious. So here we are going with 50% power. We're going forward for one rotation. And then we're going to pause. All right. And then we're only going to rotate the B wheel. So 720 degrees is the same as 2 rotations. Now, if you take 2 robot wheels and you only rotate the one, you're then going to turn. Okay. Why do we put a pause here? Because there's momentum. Because in life there is momentum. You cannot let the robot go forwards and backwards and forward and turn. You've got to get it forward, pause, turn. You have to wait that second because of momentum. All right. Good programming habits. Okay. Once again, here you've got you're going forward for one rotation, you are pausing. Now look what happens. Now we've got a medium motor and it's going up for 1 second. That is for power attachments. That we're going to do in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so here's just some good programming that you need. You really need to reset your motors and you'll see the difference later. When changing direction, you have to put a pause in between. And remember, forward is positive, negative goes backwards, right? The robot must be able to maneuver. Okay, so other good programming habits. I'm not sure how many of you are programmers. You need to save your programs. You need to test your code, lots of testing. You need to have backups. And that is also one thing that becomes a habit. Before you shut down your laptop every day, you need to make a backup, and preferably on a wearable flash that you can keep somewhere. And you also need to add comments to your code. All right. There is a move steering option, but that's when, so if you've got 2 wheels, two motors, B and C, you set them at different power settings, then you will have like a tank, like an army tank, where you have, instead of wheels, you have the tank wheels, and then they can move at different power settings. All right. Okay, so just, I'm going to show you also now, you've got connecting your motors. Your motors, you always connect to B and C, A, B, C, and D, and we will do sensors in M2 in 2 weeks' time. I'll show you about sensors. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner of your canvas, you'll always see that your motors are connected. It's a good way to double check that you actually are connected. Otherwise, your brain is going to try and execute a program and it's not going to be connected. All right. And just for perspective, your robot doesn't know anything about the physical design of the world where it's moving. So it'll move as much as it can, but you need to guide it. You do need to guide it and tell it where it has to go. And that's where we're going to come to sensors soon. All right. So let me stop sharing and give you a demonstration. And I'm just going to, there we go. All right. All right, let me just quickly. so I'm just going to open the canvas. No, I need to share this. Hey. All right. I think we need to have multiple presenters for this in future. All right. Can everybody see my canvas for my programming?
Yes.
Yes, Dr. House.
Awesome. I love to hear voices. At least somebody's listening there. There we go. All right. So this is your canvas that you're going to then program your robot. You can see down the bottom here, I've got no brick connected. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll connect it to a brick. But there you've got the download options that goes straight to your brick. What you've got here is you've got different tabs, and these are your programming icons. All right. So for this MOOC, we're at least going to do the green, and no, we don't do orange. Orange is the next one. Okay, so now we're going to program our robot to go forward. So we can drag and drop this. There's your B and C motors. It's going to go forward for 1 rotation. And if we wanted to download it, if we were connected, we would say download and run, and your robot would go forward 1 rotation. 1 rotation of the wheels. Okay, if I had big wheels, it'll travel the full circumference of the big wheel. If there was little wheels, it will only travel the circumference of the little wheel. Thus, if you have bigger wheels, it'll go further than if you have little, bigger wheels go further. All right. Now we want the robot to come back. So then we put a pause, because remember, we're changing direction. And then we need to meet both. Now, if we're going forward 1 rotation, we've got to come back 1 rotation. So if we put that to negative power, okay, then it'll come back. And that's it. All right. And then I said good programming is to add a reset button. So we need to reset port B, and we need to reset port C, just so that we can make sure that it's like ready, steady, go. Here we go, and we'll reset that motor and reset that motor. You can reset it as often as you like, but there we go. There's our first program. So if you read the code, it goes forward, pause, and come back. Okay, just as a detail, there's a star there. That is a reminder that you have not saved your program. All right, and program is not a good programming name. So first you just double click on the program name and you call it here, there, because we're going to go here and there. Oopsie. All right, and then my project, I'm going to have a very, very meaningful name. So let's go here. Let's save project as, and this is going to be called test project, of course. Doesn't mean anything, but we'll just call it test project. So there we've named our project, and we have named our program. So a project can have multiple programs in it. Okay, and for those who love making noises, you can always go here. Let me just put this all out the way here, and then you can make a sound. You can put a sound up here, and the really cool thing is you go here and you choose a sound. Let's choose an animal, cats, and then you can make your robot purr or do whatever you like. If there's somebody who wants to actually play the national anthem, there is a challenge for you. You can figure out how to play the national anthem. I will add that as one of the activities that we have as well. But there you go. There is your first program. Okay, you reset, you go forward, you stop, you go back, and there's the purring. All right. But now what happens if we wanted a program that makes it go around the corner? Okay, so let's just modify. Should we modify it? Yes, let's modify. So we go forward. Now we want it to turn. So we take this out, and we want just 1 motor. So we put this motor in here, and we want B, because if we put the motor B on, it'll turn towards the right. And we'll maybe make it for 2.2 rotations. All right, and so that'll make it turn around the corner. Okay. If you want it to reverse around the corner, then you will make that -50, and then it will reverse around the corner. Okay. And that is why I am really stressing, if you want to do programming, the best way to do it is to test it. You do have options. You have the Virtual Robotics Toolkit. Download it and play around with the robot. Test, do some programming, see whether it works, see whether you can make it do something that you think is amazing and awesome. All right. I'm going to just stop sharing this programming environment for now, just to say whether there are there any questions before I take the screen away?
If anybody has a question, please feel free to raise your hand.
I see there's a question on the chat box from Itas. Dean Peter says, what program are we using to write our programming in?
Okay, so this specific one is the EV3 lab version, and it's a icon-based programming. You can download that free. It depends what robotics kit you have. If you would like to use EV3 Classroom, that's more Scratch-like, you can use that also with the EV3 robot. Otherwise, you can use, if you have a Spike Prime robotics kit, you will then use the Spike Prime programming language, and that is also Scratch-like. The cool thing is, all the Scratch programming you can also convert to Python, but because we're working with learners and we want to encourage them to overcome the fear of programming, I would definitely stay with either this drag and drop icons or the Scratch environment, because it is less intimidating than your text-based programming languages.
All right. Gentlemen and ladies, if you still have any questions that you might think of while Dr. Khosi is presenting, don't hesitate to throw them in the chat box and we'll definitely attend to them.
All right, so let me share, let's quickly finish the presentation, and then we can also ask any questions at the end. And now, I'm just trying to see whether you can see from the, is that clear?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So the cool thing about this robotics community as well, that there are additional programming resources. All right. So if you have an EV3 robot, there's called the EV3 lessons. If you have a Spike Prime robot, you can look in Prime lessons. There's some really great tutorials that you can do. My favorite is Builder Dude 35. It's a young boy called Kyle. Kyle was a kid investigating and discovering robotics, and he produced, well, he has produced over the years since about 2015, the most amazing collection of tutorials. I know it's very small, but Kyle, that's his picture there. He's very grown up now, and he has produced his own book as well. But the young gentleman has gone the extra mile to write really cool tutorials, and maybe that is a lesson in and of itself. Maybe we should invite him here as a special guest. Now that's an idea. All right. So the really available there, you need to find what works for your classroom. I have got a list of the stuff that I often use, and I'm happy to discuss that with you. All right. Here's another thing. There are a large collection of tutorials. Some of them are quite long. Not all of them are as useful as the next. All right. So what you need to do is then choose which one of these are most meaningful to you. And there's a challenge as well. If you would like to create your own YouTube video to anything, to discuss any option or any part of the learning, please load it up onto YouTube, but then please provide me with the URL. I would love to share it within our online community. That'll be really cool. All right. And even if we take multiple presentations in different languages, how's that for a cool idea? Okay. So you do have homework, and I would really encourage you to install software, either the EV3 Lab or the EV3 Classroom or the Spike Prime software. Register for the M1 MOOC. You should be able to complete Unit 1 and Unit 2. For the assessment for M1, you will need to have done at least one of the quizzes for every unit. And there's a portfolio at the end that you're going to have to complete and submit. But before that, write some programs, and I would highly recommend that you do some of the programming, actually all the programming activities in Unit 2. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to email the team at iset@unisa.ac.za. We've got a good team going, and we do watch our news. All right. So just kind of in closing, before I hand over to Tumelo, we've had a couple of questions. The one was how to start robotics at a school. You will definitely need your competent and confident coaches, and so we're happy that you've joined us. you'll need to decide whether you want to be as a classroom activity or as an extramural activity. These robots, the EV3 and the Spike Prime, are geared for about grade 4 to grade 10. We've got a program extended from grade 10 upwards. You can do the WRO senior challenge. This is not an ideal world, so about 5 to 10 learners per robotics kit. My favorite number is 8. And I'm really encouraging you, if you want to start robotics at your school, you need to have a plan and a budget. You need to have at least 3 years, all right, with goals. And they must be realistic goals. And that said, I do not think that this is a solo activity. You need to have at least 2 or 3 coaches working together for sustainability and for succession, definitely. But if you start on this, it takes a lot of time. It is very time consuming. Please do not go solo at your school. You need to have buy-in from at least 2 more teachers, even if you get a 4th member just to do your administration for you. Okay. And I would highly recommend that you have a plan to grow the number of learners. Okay. And if you're doing robotics this year in grade 6, that's great, because then you'll have a grade 7 team for next year. And then, but then your grade 7s can then peer coach or peer mentor your grade 6s, but you will need to have an ongoing plan. So, and obviously, how far do you go down? Do you want to start? Ideally, you should start grade 1, 2, and 3, start robotics there. And then, so next year you have a grade 4 team already. Most schools have got teams for under 16, under 17, under 13. Ideally, every grade should have a robotics team. And kind of, what is your vision for robotics? Are you just going to do it as a hit and run and a once off? Or is it long term, like chess and soccer and netball? It becomes, every school needs to have a team. All right. So that was the one question. And then we were asked, like, who and what and where is that it all fit in? So this is kind of a diagram that I've put together, maybe to understand. So a STEMI is the South African Agency for Science and Technology Advancement within SASTA, and they are the science Olympiads and competitions. And so in this country, we currently host 3 large robotics competitions. The one is the first Lego League Challenge, which is also the first tech challenge for the senior learners. We've got the World Robot Olympiad, and we've got the robotics virtual gear robotics competition. And so it's hosted by various organizations. We are here. We are not a competition, although we do host a virtual robotics, a virtual gear competition. But we are here to equip and coaches and teams through engagement. Regionally, well, we can't travel yet, but regionally, nationally, and we hope to take learners internationally as well. All right. And linked to it, but separate. So this is the competitions, and this is the coding and robotics offered by DBE. And so if you are a little bit confused, the DBE does have training, which has been, UNISA has been commissioned to present. The UNISA does the DBE 001 digital literacy and the DBE 002 coding and robotics MOOCs. Those you can also see, it's open, it's accessible, it's also on the UNISA MOOC portal, and there are webinars there as well. So that is for the educators, and currently it's from grade R to grade 3. And I think that should answer everybody's questions. Oh, yes. And the other one was, what does the year look like? Well, this is where you come to plan how you're going to see how you fit in. So if you're going to just equip your coaches, you can do M1, M2, M3, and M4 in 4 months, or you can do M1 and M2. These are just options. This is not absolute. This is just how you see it. However, the green is for how you're going to do coach equipping. And then for your teams, you teach them M1, M2, M3, M4. That's possible. And then tackle the virtual gear in August and September. Or you're going to do M1 and M2, and then you're going to participate in the regional competition for First Lego League in May. Or are you going to do a celebration event at your school? So these are all different options. Your WRO kind of fits in here. I haven't got dates for them, so I'm just waiting for them to confirm their dates. So maybe you can do a WRO competition in between here. These are all the options, but if you have a plan, I think The year is very short. There are only 10 months in the year, and I don't know about you, but it's on the expressway. All right. So there's some options of how do you coach your robotics learners as an option. Okay. So now you've heard enough about me, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to hand over to Tumelo, who is going to explain how the MOOC portal works. Thanks, Tumelo.
Thank you for sending the array in the site, Dr. Rose.
Excellent, excellent. I am so glad it's arrived.
Yeah, thanks so much for the rain. And once again, thank you so much, robotics personnel, Mensa, for being part of the session. I'll just go through the MOOC site. So I'll interact with Dr. Rose here so that you get to understand. So Dr. Rose, just to refresh our memory, what happens on the MOOC site is it that immediately when I log in here, my data won't be used, right?
Yes, you just need data to get to the MOOC portal. Once you're logged in, it's 0 rated. Yes.
So meaning even if when I download videos and PDF documents, it's
as long as as long as you're in the MOOC portal, that's free. It's on our account.
Or on any UNISA site, you will get any UNISA site is 0 rated.
Wow, that's great, eh? All right. For those who haven't registered on this site yet, this is very simple. You have to register yourself. You just click on register here on the bottom tab after welcome. When you click on welcome, it'll show you this PDF on the instructions of how to register for a MOOC. Here on step 2, you'll have to create your own MOOC account. As soon as you're done creating that, it'll require you to create your username. So when you're done with the username and your user ID, after filling in everything there, you will have to enroll for a MOOC. So in order for you to enroll for a MOOC site, this is where I'm coming in to teach you. So if you want to enroll for a MOOC, such as the one for the purposes of the study, which is the Robotics M1. So as soon as I click on, remember you have your username as well as your password that you created. When you click on login, you simply go to membership. Immediately you click on membership, you go to, under membership, there's my current sites, my official course enrollments, joinable sites. When you click on joinable sites, you'll see that there are different types of sites there. So when you scroll down there, you'll have to see this site called iSight Robotics M1. If you don't, you have to click this button. If you still continue going down there and you still can't find it, I'll prefer you to click here on the search button.
I can maybe help you, show you what it looks like because you already joined, so that's why you're not seeing it on your side. Maybe I can show.
Shoot, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Casper. Should I give you, oh wait, should I log out? I mean,
Don't worry, I already shared my screen.
Oh, nice one, nice one.
This is teamwork here.
So all you have to do is you just have to go down and you'll see it under this one here.
Yeah.
There we go. But don't join.
Oops.
Oh, you join.
Too late.
So yeah, immediately click on
so
join after getting it on the joinable sites. That's when.
There we go. Excellent.
Yes. So when you click on that site, this is the welcome page that you'll see, whereby you will have an introduction and explaining of what's going to happen within this MOOC, as well as the aim of this MOOC, the duration of this MOOC, and the assessments that are involved as part of this MOOC as well. So you'll see there, I see that currently there are 5 people in this MOOC so far, but I'm sure as soon as we're done with this session, most of the people are going straight to that MOOC. Thank you so much, Meneer Johannes.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
Over to you, Dr. Rose.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right. I have to put my camera. There we go. All right, so I'm going to set up the table for tomorrow so we can get these robots to move. So just by what I've got a little robot here. It hasn't got, I know it hasn't got wires. So if you have this as your baby robot and you want it to move, the only way it's going to move is if both these wheels rotate at the same power setting. So if you have this as your robot, and now I've only got one hand, but if they both turn together, your robot is going to go forward. If I turn it this way, it's going forward. If I make it turn backwards, then the robot is going to move backwards. That's why you need traction on the front wheels. But if you want to make the robot turn, if you switch this motor off, so this is your C motor, what's connected to your C motor, and you only let this motor turn, then if you're going to make it turn, it's going to automatically then turn to the right. Okay. And similarly, if your robot is moving forward and only this motor moves, it'll then turn to the left. Okay, so it's really important in terms of programming. You have to be able to make the robot go forwards, go backwards, turn left, turn right. Well, you're right. And then do that all in reverse. And so there's some really cool activities if your learners can grasp navigation, okay, properly, and include resetting and include pausing in between. And if you have to, just for the fun of it, put some sounds, make the robot do some sounds, that's also fine. But you need to be able to do navigation before we even introduce sensors. Okay, it's called a senseless robot. This robot has got no sensors. It's just a forward and backwards robot. You'll also realize that this robot at the back has got a caster wheel. A caster wheel is not great if you're going to program the robot to reverse, because there comes inaccuracies. Okay, it's not the metal ball or the caster ball in here, it doesn't go accurately backwards, so that there's no traction. Okay, that is for so what I'm going to also build for you, I'll show you, is if you build a little rubber guiding wheel that is more accurate than this caster wheel. This one, it's like a shopping trolley. Okay, it goes all over the place. And if we want to build accurate and reliable robots, we need to start now teaching good programming skills. All right, and good, well, this is a building skill, but that is one of the reasons you're going to be changing your program. So that's also another thing I'd also like to emphasize. So this robot, I'll just dismantle it, has got a power bank. Okay, and I don't want you to, it's kind of fits into the bottom here. It kind of fits in, but it has a rechargeable port here. So as a good coach, a robotics coach, these robots need to be fully charged before you start your classes. Okay, and if you're going to do programming forward, backwards, up and down, all the way, the robots usually remain accurate for about half an hour, and then they start losing power. Okay, and once your robots are losing power, you're not going to get the accuracy in your programming. All right, what then happens with learners is they then keep modifying the program. In actual fact, it's just the robot that needs to be recharged. So keep in the back of your mind, if you've got a class, charge the robots beforehand. And if you're doing a lot of programming, especially if you've got a heavier robot, half an hour, 45 minutes. And that's usually the time that your learners also need a little bit of a timeout. Kind of a golden rule is you have as many minutes of concentration as years of your learners. So for our 15-year-olds, you've got about 15 minutes. It's not much. And then you need to kind of refocus them. Although a robotics lesson is usually very loud. That is one of the huge discoveries of all the robotics coaches workshops, and it becomes very loud because the learners are really into their programming. Okay, so keep the robots charged, and then if you're going to use these little pen light batteries, it's going to cost you an absolute fortune. Okay, you get a rechargeable and you charge them before the class starts, and then you just you just take it out, and then it's fully charged, and you know you can get some action out of your robot and reliable programming can happen, because don't start fiddling and changing programs when you are dealing with a tired robot. Tired robot is not fun at all. Okay, so that is my 2 cents on robots. And also when you programming them, make sure that your traction is in the front. So there's 2 other things. These wheels, it's real, all right, and so they get dirty. And what I have done, you can write a little program, whoopsie, just to make the robot turn the wheels, and then you can hold it like this with like a wet cloth or something just to clean it. If you have a challenge mat, do not leave it out that you can collect dust. It needs to have a cover, at the very least a tablecloth over, because it collects dust. And especially in the winter here in South Africa, it's very dry, a lot of dust, and you will be surprised how inaccurate your robot becomes if your wheels are dirty. Okay, so keep the wheels clean, keep your mat clean. If you don't have a cover for it, then rather fold it up and pack it away after each session, but it becomes very dirty and then inaccurate. There is, and I must find the link. So one team called Veneer actually have a video to test whether your robot's going straight. Really cool example, because sometimes the 2 motors, there might be one that has an inaccuracy, especially if your learners drop. It still remains electronics. Okay, it might look like a toy, but it is electronics. Okay, so if they drop any of the sensors, any of the motors, because they've got gears inside here, this is meshed gears inside here, any of the motors, the brain is catastrophe. The sensors, you'll get inaccuracy. But if you want to test that your robot's going straight, there's a really cool video, how to test that my robot goes straight or something like that. Okay, and I know Dr. Hino has got some really cool videos, and I'll share that with you tomorrow. What if something goes wrong? And so you as the coach must be aware of why things go wrong, especially in the programming. And maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Your learners do very strange things when they program. Okay, they program for 0 degrees, they program for 0 time, they forget to connect their wires, they put onto 0 power. These are all little things. My robot's not working, and then you as the coach need to have all the answers. But it's exciting times. And I'm really excited that we've got so many potential coaches for this country. Right. Okay. I think you've listened to me more than enough. Tumelo, are there any questions in the chat?
Yes, Erasmus.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, yes. I'm just quickly looking at the MOOC portal and saying under Unit 1, it's a multiple choice that we need to do. Under what questions, like what do we need to study to the questionnaire? The M1 overview PDF, would the questions be from that, or?
You'd probably need to listen to the presentations that we do.
Oh, okay. So basically, I'll first do that once we finish for Thursday.
But you have multiple
tomorrow.
attempts. You can go and look at you can do one, see what you get for your first test, and then you can do it again tomorrow.
Oh, okay, I see.
You are so welcome. We have reset it so you can have multiple attempts, and only the highest score counts.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. And that also said, if anybody's got some really cool questions they'd like to add to the bank, we've built that up over 2 or 3 years already, and we've had great contributions from the team and also from those who've participated, and they're saying, this is a really cool question. So then we've added it. Yes. And also, if you find some really cool links, I had one participant last year who took it upon himself to provide me with some really cool links as well. So we've added some of those, but you are welcome. You're welcome. This is about a community of sharing and what works. And that is also said, we have a diverse country here. And so maybe what works in one person's class might not work in another person's class. And so we'd love to hear from you, what is working and what is not working. You can use the overview, the M1 overview document. It has 4 units. You can teach in those 4 units. And that is being developed over the years from all the workshops that we've been presenting. So that gives a kind of a broad spectrum of what you can teach. And sometimes some teachers like to do components and pedagogy, just the components and the building the chassis. There are lots of chassis you can build, and good for conversation. And I feel like there's gazillion programming things you can do. One of my favorites is, and you will get to it on Thursday, is if you make the robot go forward and come back, and you put some chocolates or some sweets there, and you say whatever you can fetch is yours. But the robot needs to be able to go forward and go back, around something, reverse over something, reverse behind something. If you have a class that has got that, you can always make them a little bit of a ramp and make the robot go up and go down successfully without falling. And so that's also an option. But there are lots of activities. Hopefully we'll upload all the extra activities this weekend. It's kind of in construction still, but that is the plan. All right. All right. Anybody got anything else to add?
I see Sarah has a question on the chat.
Okay.
Sarah says, our robotics club members this year have more than doubled in size.
Awesome.
We have EV3s, but I cannot source anymore as they have been discontinued. What difference would we find between the Spike and the EV3 bricks and kits? Are they interchangeable? Any advice on sourcing EV3s, or will Spike Prime do the job? Said Sarah.
Okay. All right, Sarah. First of all, Sarah must just say, where is she?
Feel free to unmute yourself,
Sarah.
Hi, sorry, I'm at St. Henry's in Durban.
Okay, St. Henry's in Durban. Okay, so you'll probably find, probably like on Take a Lot, people are giving up their EV3s, which is very sad. All right. So you're just buying the brain. But I'm sure some people are going to sell up their EV3s. I'm going to get you a Spike Prime. Give me 1 minute. I just want to show you quickly.
Thanks.
In the meantime, kindly please throw in your questions on the chat box if you do have, or just raise your hand so that as soon as the box is done showing Sarah the brick, and then we can.
Okay, so Sarah, this is the NXT robot that I'm still using. This is Mozart. Mozart was built by my team. It feels like also a gazillion years ago. They've all matriculated and they nearly graduated. But this is the NXT, and the NXT you can use the EV3 programming on. All right. And so the team that was actually the champions in 2019 but couldn't go because of COVID, this is their robot Mario, and this is the EV3 kit. All right. And so they were very keen to see whether Spike Prime is going to live up to the standards.
Okay.
It just makes for a smaller robot, but in terms of functionality, they won their competition with this one as well.
Right.
So this is the Spike version of Mario. If you're going to have Spikes and EV3s in one classroom, that is not a problem. I would then just recommend that the programming language you use for the EV3 becomes EV3 Classroom.
Yes, we're doing that already.
Okay, so then everybody's programming in Scratch, and everybody's got a robot, and there we go.
Lovely, thank you so much. I was quite shocked when they said they were discontinuing EV3.
I know.
was like, what do I do?
Okay, maybe just add, Dr. Gous, I've just looked on Take a Lot, so I see they are still selling the EV3's expansion set.
Okay.
But I also see it is through hands-on technology.
Okay.
They're using Take a Lot as a middleman.
Okay, so there might still be some EV3s roaming around, yes.
Lovely, thank you so much.
Okay, Sarah, I'm looking forward to seeing your teams participating.
Oh, okay.
No pressure. Are you? Maybe you should send me a private email. Send me an email, and I would love to know which grade you're working with. Let's chat. Yes.
Okay, will do.
Okay, thank you. Awesome. So this is just the transition. Any transition is very difficult. I think because you get to do a way of programming. I have been teaching in the well, our whole team has been teaching in the EV3 lab version of it. We're now all going to upgrade, and we're going to have, I think we do need to have some workshops for us. And we're going to learn the EV3 classroom version of it. We're going to put that on all the workshop laptops. And then hopefully we'll get some spike primes, but we've got 20 in the lab in our robotics hub where we are, and they have surely worked over the years, and they will continue to work. They travel the country. Our robots have traveled the country. I think they've traveled further and wider than most of the members of the team, but they have been used, and it's good. It's good if you have, because we want to equip our learners for the future. We have to, and I will end my speech with my always must. If it's not now, when are we going to do it? And if it's not us, who is going to equip our learners? All right. So we're going to just teach the EV3s. We're going to teach them the EV3 classroom scratch programming. Otherwise, we're going to get the EV3, the Spike robots, and we'll talk scratch with them. The cool thing is, as soon as you get into Scratch, you can go into Python, and that's what we want. We want our learners to migrate. So the little boys that I taught, who matriculated back in 2009, 2010, 2011, those boys don't know that programming is difficult because they've migrated. They've just kept going, and so that makes it that much easier. All right. After that inspiring moment from Sarah in Durban, anybody else got any questions?
Palisa was asking, I would like to ask about to log in. I filled all the details. When I go to membership, it says I'm not a member. Palisa, would you kindly please unmute yourself? Just need to ask something quickly.
Palisa, did you create an account?
Yes, I did.
And did you? Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
And did you log in and then you click on membership?
Yes, I followed all the steps.
And then from membership, there's 3 tabs. The one is written my current sites. The one is my official course enrollments. The other one is joinable sites. Which one did you click on?
I went to joinable sites.
All right. And then on joinable sites, did you look for the ISET?
Maybe put it in a search.
MOOC?
Yes, I selected the first one, but to me it shows for 2021. It doesn't show the one for 2022.
So you mean immediately after clicking on joinable sites, when you scroll down, you saw this as 2021 instead of 2022?
Yes.
See my screen? Oh, okay. All right then. I think
2022 is unpublished. You don't have access to it.
Pardon?
2021's MOOC site is not published. If you do a refresh here.
Yeah, it shows me the one for 2021, not the 2022 one.
So what Dr. Gous is saying is that could you perhaps refresh your page or log in and out and try and see again? If not, we'll have to take that matter further.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right. And then I see Malekele says, is the Mindstorm Inventor a good choice for educational purposes?
You can use the Mindstorm's Inventor, yes. As long as you have a brain. All right.
All right. Once again, participants, if you have any burning questions, you can raise your hand or feel free to unmute yourself or post on the chat, and then we'll definitely attend to your questions. While on that note, feel free to chat to see on the chat box for any general queries regarding today's session. Please don't hesitate to email us that, as well as to check as well as our social media pages and our MOOC portal link.
Awesome. Okay. Tumelo, I'm wondering whether you should not address Palisa's problem just after the session. Let's close the session, stop the recording, and then we'll maybe just ask her to share her screen.
All righty then.
Okay. All right. Cabello, can you close the session for us?
Thank you everyone for attending today's session. And thank you for a very engaging session and questions and challenges. But I'm thinking that as time goes by, we are going to get them right. And without wasting any time, I thank you. And we'll close the session, and Dumelo will continue assisting Palisa offline. Thank you
very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow then. Night, night.